You very much. As a matter of fact, I am going to ask our producer, announcer, co host, and engineer, DeQuay Wilson, if she will give us our opening just one more time so I can test my microphone. I wasn't able to hear her. So, for those of you who are listening, if you are hearing it for the second time, I apologize. But, DeQuay, if you would, will you open us again?
Absolutely. Again, I am DeQuay Wilson. Good afternoon and hello. I am your announcer on the Wave Your Grades Motivational Talk program featuring American students dedicating academic excellence to American veterans and our veterans, thanking our students for being serious about their education. Your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information on bridging the five wealth gaps, please call them at 816 525 8708, or you may send him an email at wnorman, the number two, at att.net. Now, with our very special guest, here is our Wave Your Grades host, civilian educator Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very much. As a matter of fact, when you talk about our very special guest today, in the opening, you said that we are brought to you by the Norman Group, and we're going to get the whole group on with us in just a moment. Let me just hold up the mask that my wife, wonderful Wanda, made for me and that I keep with me. This is as much for your protection as it is mine. And I am sure that as we are going through the pandemic, that our listeners are paying very close attention and taking seriously all of those measures that have been put forth to keep us healthy. And I should suggest, DeQuay, that when I say take seriously, it is a time when we are beginning to reopen, and today is Black Impact Restaurant Day. So, DeQuay Wilson, at your leisure, you might read all of the restaurants or a few, but they are asking that you call ahead if you participate in patronizing our restaurants. And DeQuay, you do it the way you would like to do it.
Well, I think I can read all of them, but we'll break them up throughout the show. Would
Okay,
be,
all
I think,
right.
the best approach. So, with that being said, there's my introduction to go ahead and list off a few of the restaurants participating in the Black Impact Restaurant Day. There's, if you're into Caribbean food, Miso Caribbean Ethiopian food, located at 3601 Broadway. Their phone number is 816-442-7311. Again, they request that you call ahead for curbside pickup. KC Daiquiri Shop, 1116 Grand, 816-974-3275. Elsa's Ethiopian, 8016 Santa Fe Drive in Overland Park, Kansas, 913-648-5000. And one more, Fat Jacks at 5912 Blue Parkway, 816-216-7686. Again, don't forget they want you to call ahead for curbside.
Thank you so very, very much. And I must congratulate our African American, Black, Greek letter organizations who are sponsoring Black Impact Day. Let me mention them alphabetically, beginning with Our Ladies, our Black Greek letter sororities, beginning with Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, and Zeta Phi Beta sorority. Our Black male Greek letter organizations alphabetically: Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, Omega Psi Phi fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Now, as I introduce our very special guest, he will be noting that I listed our Black Greek letter organizations alphabetically, but if I were a prejudiced man, I am wearing my Kappa Alpha Psi sweatshirt today. As a matter of fact, I call it my 30-pound sweatshirt because I got it about 30 pounds ago. But since this is a very special day for Greek letter organizations, I am not only wearing it, but I am also wearing a sense of pride to introduce my fraternity brother and the Willie Norman Group, Willie, W. Norman Group W. Here is Brother Willie Norman. Thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Hey, thank you, Carl. I appreciate you guys allowing me to speak to your audience today. So I am ready to rock and roll, sir.
Outstanding. As a matter of fact, you have graced us with your presence before, but no doubt since then we have added some listeners and they might want an introduction an introduction an introduction. So please let our listeners know, what does the W. Norman Group do?
Okay, thank you. So one of our goals, Carl, is we have been in the financial services industry for the last 27 years, advising families, working with families, really bridging what we call five wealth gaps that's really keeping our communities and middle income Americans from achieving levels of wealth. So the first one being what we call wealth accumulation. And that simply means that we want to educate folks about investments. I believe when you look at our school systems, you look at our universities, even when you look at our churches, we don't bridge financial literacy when it comes to investing. So we do want to teach our families more about mutual funds. You know, we want to teach about annuities. We just want to teach about the investment vehicles that are out there and that are designed to really help families achieve those levels of wealth. And when I speak about wealth, you know, for example, that's a different number for, you know, a lot of people, but that's really positioning yourself at some point in life where you no longer have to labor for wages anymore. And that means that you have enough money that you can live off the interest of your money and no longer have to labor. So we want to help families with that. We would typically, you know, educate families on what we call three fundamental investment accounts. One is being the emergency fund. I think right now with this whole, you know, COVID-19, unfortunately, a lot of Americans right now are like, wow, we don't have a significant amount of money put away in savings, and the savings runs out, you know, and it's tough times right now, you know, but, you know, the average person should really, really have about 3 to 6 months of living expenses put away. For situations just like this, you know, I've been coaching and teaching for years, and I've always taught my clients, you know, we have to prepare for the unknown. You know, 60 days ago, everything was doing great. The stock market was doing great. Everybody was doing, you know, we didn't even see this coming. So a lot of folks, unfortunately, they were unready, you know, which means that, you know, again, if we look at unemployment, I think the numbers have reached like 36 million American families have filed for unemployment. That's more since the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very alarming stat. You know, people, they're calling every day. They're taking calls up to 250,000 calls a day, Carl, for people filing for unemployment. You know, so again, we want to help. We want to help people in that area. The next area, the next wealth gap, I would say, is what's called asset protection, and that simply means that we want to show people how to protect, you know, whether it's their identity. We're in a digital platform right now. More people are working from home. So that whole hacking and that identity theft is just something that everyone
Mm.
should be mindful of
Yes.
and protect themselves from identity theft protection. You know, so that's one thing. Another thing may be a will, living trust, lawyer and retainer. Because again, if we get in trouble with the law, if we don't have the resources, to retain an attorney, that it won't work out a lot of cases in our favor. So we want to help folks with that. whether it's home security, whether it's auto and homeowners. Those are assets that we just want to show our families how to protect those assets as much as possible. Wealth gap number 3 is what's called debt elimination. So unfortunately, in my community and a lot of communities, debt is a form of bondage. So we want to show families how to deleverage themselves. How do I get out of the grips of MasterCard and Visa where I'm paying, 18, 21%, and again, I think people are kind of, seeing go to this whole COVID-19 that these credit card companies and these lenders, these debtors are not providing a lot of grace to families. So we want to help people with that. The fourth one is I call it wealth transfer, i.e. life insurance. And that simply means that in most families, we don't understand how to replace income. We will have insurance on our cell phones. We will have insurance on our appliances, but we won't have insurance on our wages. So one of the goals with the whole income protection, that's life insurance. So if you should pass away, that you can replace your income or transfer wealth to the survivors. So we just break that down. We educate families on that. And then the fifth wealth gap is just really it's earning more income. Again, 36 million people thought they had secure jobs. And again, I just think we're in a space that people have to pick up a skill where they're not necessarily dependent on a job, and they can go out and help families or provide a service in which they can get paid for providing that service. The medium household income call right now, it's been about $56,000 a year is what the medium household income was. But what a lot of Americans don't realize, they don't realize how inflation has affected wages. So the average family really should be closer to about $86,000 a year, and this is why we have so many American families right now, honestly, kind of paycheck to paycheck. Just trying to, kind of struggling right now because again, not taught true economics. So that just gives you a little snapshot of what we've done, what we provided for our families, and so yeah, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we've been able to do. So, well, turn it back over to you.
Thank you so very much. And I would like for you to hear something. If I can ask DeQuay Wilson to get ready to say it. You were talking about those 5 factors, and when she introduces the program, she mentions that you will do that for us, and then she mentions contact information. So one of the things that we want to do throughout the program is make sure that those who listen will be able to say, this is how I contact this gentleman. And when she brings us on, just in case, I know you were holding, but just in case you didn't hear it, and or any listeners, DeQuay, if you would, make that statement again.
Absolutely. For more information on becoming a partner or learning more on bridging the 5 wealth gaps, please reach out to Willie Norman. You may call him at 816-525-8708 or send him an email at wnorman2@att.net.
Thank you so very much. And back to Brother Norman, you mentioned something about inflation, and I would like to have you talk about integration. While we know that COVID-19 is not just the elephant in the room, it's the rhinoceros in the nursery, it's the gorilla in the garage. It is what we are all talking about at this time. But there is another elephant in the room, and that is, as you put it, wealth gap. So when you talk about the median income, how does that figure into the minority population, those of us who are Black Americans in particular?
Well, as being African American, unfortunately, right now, a lot of the surveys, a lot of the studies are saying or stating that African Americans will lose all of their net worth by the year 2053, which simply means that our net worth will go to zero. Is what the readings are right now. Even a little bit more alarming than that, by 2024, just a few years from now, African Americans will lose about 60% of their net worth. So a lot of that will deal with home ownership. That's a big percentage. And with the whole Corona-19, unfortunately, people are losing their homes right now, their apartments. I think it's like they're over 35% of apartment residents will get kicked out. They will,
Wow.
so that affects our community a great deal. That in turn, it's kind of like a domino effect, and then it hurts a person's credit. Even through this time of the COVID-19, people have to understand from a whole credit rating, the companies are looking at us as consumers to determine how we will pay our bills even through this time, and that will affect us greatly as well. So that, and then just being deleveraged by debt, kind of what we had talked about a little bit earlier. And then the lack of savings. So less than, I think the number is roughly about 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 in an emergency fund savings. So if we don't have the savings, we're leveraged by debt. We don't have home ownership. It puts us in a very bad position for our community. And my whole goal, again, is to bring the awareness up. I think with the whole COVID-19, it hit a lot of people. My daughter, she's 21 years old. She's a female barber. And I've been coaching my daughter to put away money. And, she's been listening a little bit, but her awareness with this whole COVID-19, she's like, wow, okay, Dad, I see why you say now that we need to put money away. We need to prepare. We need to get bulletproof just for circumstances just like this. My personal belief, and it's just my personal belief, I think this will pass. But however, what if it comes again? So the message that I want to get out to the audience is you got to get prepared. You got to get ready. You have to come out of this thing, better than how you entered the thing. And that just simply means that you got to start rethinking how you look at your personal finances. And you got to start rethinking like, okay, I need to get lean and mean. I need to get debt free as much as possible. I need to get my credit scores in order. I need to look at home ownership, and I need to put some money away for savings. Because if not, Carl, it's going to, I don't know, it's going to be scary. It's going to be, and my goal is again to bring awareness, but it's going to be a new slavery system. If people do not understand how to manage this tool we call money and really, make money, make money work for you versus us laboring so much and working for money. So,
Well, you cannot know how much I appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, what you make me mindful of is this. If we talk about the net worth being zero by 2053, we're talking about 33 years from now. And just in case there are those of us, particularly in our community, who do not take you seriously, 33 years ago, we could not have imagined COVID-19. 33 months ago, we could not have imagined COVID-19. What we are learning, I pray, at this time is the reality of unforeseen events taking over our lives in a way that we could not imagine, And it is very important for us to hear from a Willie Norman. Let me ask this of you, and by the way, I know DeQuay is very interested in this as well, so jump in because it's hard for me to see you over these apparatuses that are in front of us, so please jump in. But this is what I would like to ask of Willie Norman. As it relates to opportunities to present your services, what is the format that you use? Particularly during COVID-19, we've become an electronic society, but do you do you do webinars? Do you do personal visits? What do you do?
Great question. When we look at that fifth wealth gap, earning more money, right now, and most people may not know this, but insurance is at an all-time high. We've been very blessed that more people are now becoming more aware that they have to protect what's called their insurability. Simply means if you're healthy right now, they're locking in insurance, premiums just to protect that insurability. Because of the COVID-19, prior to we were, meeting with folks face to face, having group seminars, but now we've actually, we've transitioned into Zoom. So 99.9% of my dealings with folks now is over Zoom. So really, a person can get a license, which means they get an insurance license, they get an investment license, they go through our apprentice type program in which that we will teach, we will train, we will develop, and we will teach families or teach a person, again, just, fundamentals of financial services products. And we go out and we share that information with our families, with our loved ones. And the income potential is very significant. That's how I started out. I used to work at UPS. I was in corporate America, loss prevention, transitioned out of corporate America once I got my license, started to sit down with families and help families with their personal finances. And it's been a very lucrative position. Most people don't understand another thing that's happening in our country is a transfer of wealth as well. Because of baby boomers are starting to retire, about $1.5 trillion will get transferred out of 401ks, qualified plans, inheritance money. So that opportunity to be able to help a person and show a person exactly what to do with those funds where they can understand it, and they're educated on these different type of investment vehicles is a very profitable opportunity. When you speak of opportunity, there's 80,000 what's called certified financial advisors out there. African Americans and the Latino community, we only make up about 3.5% of the 80,000 financial advisors. So you have a lot of historical African American colleges now that are providing, training, if you will, in the financial services industry because we are not represented in that industry. So out of the 3.5 as African Americans, we make up 1.2 of that 80,000 certified financial advisors. So that opportunity is just a real big deal. And what I try to get my families again to understand, slavery is not a color. It's no longer a color. In my personal opinion, slavery is a new slave system and it's economics. And that's the part that I kind of share with people that, hey, if there was a way that you could invest or 5 to 10 hours a week, but earn an additional 1,000 to 3,000 to 4,000, what would that do for your family? What kind of financial impact would that have? And I just think that's a lot greater than a $1,200 stimulus package that is supposed to help people for 10 weeks. I don't think that's enough. And I think that, moving forward, we have to change our dependency from the government into ourselves and take advantage of what we can take advantage of, to do what we need to do. So that's how I would answer that, Carl.
As I mentioned to you, we want to make sure that on an ongoing basis, we make your contact information available. Our announcer, as a matter of fact, our producer, announcer, co host, engineer, DeQuay Wilson, is going to take us to our half-hour break and let us know some of the other restaurants participating in Black Impact Restaurant Day. Here is DeQuay Wilson.
So often we think alike. Your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. He will personalize a plan just for you. Please call him on more information on building the five or bridging the five wealth gaps. 816-525-8708. Contact him at wnorman2@att.net. He'll gladly work with you. Again, a few restaurants regarding the Black Impact Restaurant Day. Soiree, 1512 East 18th Street, 816-214-5706. Wings and More, 11902 Blue Ridge, 816-756-4024. Wingbusters, 7551 State Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, 913-291-0727. Gates Barbecue, 3205 Main Street, and other participating locations. Smacks, 1827 Vine, 816-921-1161. Again, your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. Now, we have none other than Willie Norman with us today. Here is our host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you very much. And Brother Norman, let me tell you who else is in the room with DeQuay Wilson and myself. His name is Louis George Walker. Let me tell you why that is such an honor for us doing the program every Saturday. He is the founder, producer, KUAW.org. They're not a lot of media outlets where you have the regular opportunity to sit with the person who founded that outlet. And by the way, is it executive director or is it president of Black Family Technology Awareness Association? Brother Walker's title is president. Black Family Technology Awareness Association. And Willie Norman, let me tell you why this is important to us and why your sponsorship, in fact, of Wave Your Grades is important to us. Our program, and by the way, I always make the disclaimer that I am a civilian, is one that honors veterans and encourages American students. And we have the blessing to be housed at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, which is a program that tutors, that instructs, that mentors young people for their educational endeavors. So what you are affording us the opportunity to do is indeed be located in the heart of the city at a premier learning institution, helping our young people improve academically and stimulating the growth of those who are impacted by the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. So wanted to let you know how important what you are doing is to us. Let me ask you, Brother Willie Norman, this question. If you had to identify what you would refer to as a target audience, a target primary base, is that even proper nomenclature, or how would you characterize that?
So, are you speaking, Carl, in reference to just bridging financial literacy?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I think about the opportunity that we have in the African American community because of what you are doing, I do not want to suggest that you don't have other climates as well. But if you were to say, my target group is, my target audience is, I really need to get this across to And I think about students, for instance, establishing habits early. I think about our population, but let Willie Norman speak for Willie Norman.
So, I would say, the target group is really, is really everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and encompass everyone. I have, 17 and 18-year-olds that are participating in investment products.
Wow.
I would definitely say our students, is very important because, I mean, our students are our future. And I just wish I would have learned some of the things that I know now when I was back in high school, when I went to the University of Kansas. I just wish I would have been taught some basic fundamentals about money. So I think the youth that's out there listening today, to establish good saving habits. So the rule is that you should put away anywhere between 10 to 25% of your disposable income. You should put that away in some form of an emergency fund. Now, I'm not a big fan of banks. I use banks to pay my bills. I think as the youth, they have to understand, I think they got to understand the game. And the game is, do you get a checking account? Absolutely, you do. And you establish a history with that. You do your investing, okay, in investment vehicles, not necessarily at the bank. The reason I say that is that most banks are not even paying 1 percentage point on a savings account. So if we learn that inflation is at a rate at 2 to 3%, that means our products, our goods, our services are affected by an increased rate of 2 to 3%, but our money, however, is not getting a percentage point. What that really says, that says that most Americans are losing the purchasing power of their dollar. So what happens is we live it. So for my youth out there, I'm going to tell them to get in the habit of saving some money. I'm going to tell them to get in the habit to learn what a mutual fund is. The same things that we spent our money on. African Americans spent $1.5 trillion on stuff. Okay, so instead of the Jordans, let's put $100 away in a mutual fund or $50 away in a mutual fund. And Carl, if I didn't say this, let me put this plug in because I'm the gentleman that I can get people to participate in a mutual fund for as little as $25 a month to get a person started so they can understand. The system is designed for a lot of times for middle income Americans not to necessarily participate in the investment arena because you need thousands of dollars to participate. So if I put an Annie up there and that Annie's like, hey, you need 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 to participate in this investment, well, that locks out a group of people, okay, by design. So one thing I do want to educate and give literature to my youth is like, look, you gotta understand how to manage this money. You gotta understand how to create a budget. You gotta understand, there's two things. You can either have interest work for you, okay, or you can have interest work against you. So when we talk about the credit card, because if you look at African Americans, about 70% of African Americans have credit card debt. 70%. So that 21% is actually working against us. So if I can educate my youth out there, or young adults, everybody, if I can educate them on like, okay, process this, you can either be earning, okay, an average return of 9 to 10%, or you can have that work against you. So I just think sometimes that, if I can communicate that in a way where people can understand it, people will start changing behavior when it comes to money. So if you're like, who's my audience? Is everybody. My clients are from 17-year-old, and my oldest client is like 85 years old. So it's for everyone. So
Yes.
even my retirees, we have to start thinking differently even as a retiree. because when a person retires from their job at 65, 66, or whatever, the reality is that you still may have another 20, 30 years to be on this earth. And the money that you have has to last through that period of time. So it's just different. Everybody is at a different financial position. Some folks is getting started, some people right in the middle trying to figure it out, and some people are in that season where, they don't work anymore. So it really is everybody, Carl, and,
Yes.
again, the biggest thing, and another thing I would say to my youth too, unfortunately, student loan debt is kind of really taking out my community right now. So I would be very wise entering into college, and I would definitely be evaluating my career path. If I'm going to go to college, I need to make sure that I graduate in an industry that I know for a fact that when I graduate, I'm going to earn some income. So I would definitely put that out there, because I talk to so many millennials. They have an average student loan debt of about 50. I've seen as high as $250,000 in student loan debt, and then we do not work in the industry that we paid, that we racked up this student loan debt. So I just would tell my young people, even from a career standpoint, you got to really start rethinking some things. With artificial intelligence is going to wipe out a lot of American jobs in the near future. So we have to understand that, can you program a robot? Because if you go into our grocery stores right now, the human touch is no longer there. People are doing their own self checkout. You go to Walmart, they got a robot that's going around the store, cleaning the floor. So we have to be the operators of these things. We have to be the programmer of these things. So I just want my youth out here, if you're listening today, you got to rethink that. You just can't go to school just to get a degree that's not going to equal in compensation. If you're going to do that, okay, you got to come out of school and you got to be thinking, you got to make some money.
Well,
I did a thing for MU a couple of years ago, and I talked to the juniors and seniors. And again, everyone's governor was, those seniors, they didn't know anything about mutual funds. They did know about debt, and most of their families had the burden of debt. But their ideal of a good paying wage was at a level of 50,000. And I'm not trying to,
disparage.
Belittle that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's not enough money. When I went to my daughter's college, when we were looking at, her going to school, I told my daughter that you need to have a mindset when you come out of school, you're going to make six figures. That's what you need to do. And I just would tell my youth, that's what I would do. I mean, make sure that you find that career track that is going to be above $86,000 a year, where the medium household income should be.
I want to ask you to put something in a particular perspective, and then I do have a question for you if Sister DeQuay does not. But putting in particular perspective, something that you said that I pray my listeners are listening to. When you mentioned that in our African American community, 70% credit card debt, you also suggested that as it relates to our community, the amount that we spend, particularly on recreational items, is not in the billions, but you mentioned a T figure. So what I'm asking is for you to put in perspective that we owe more and we're spending more. How do we get us to put that in proper perspective?
It's a great question. Merchants, they look at the African American community as consumers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
That's how they market their products to us. And a simple question I have with a family when I'm sitting down with a family is who is their cell phone carrier. So whether it's T-Mobile, whether it's Sprint, whether it's Verizon, whether it's AT&T, I just want them to say it, and people like, hey, Verizon. And then my next question is, it's like, great, how much are you paying per month, on your cell phone bill? I get numbers, $100 a month. I just met with a client 2 days ago. She told me $300 a month.
Wow.
Paying for Sprint several lines. So the immediate question after that was, okay, so you're giving, let's just say Verizon $100 a month. Well, you're giving Verizon $1,200 a year. And every year you keep that service, you're going to give them $1,200 a year. So my question to you, Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, how much Verizon stock do you own?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're giving Verizon $1,200 a year. Should you not have a fractional share of ownership in Verizon stock if you're going to give them $1,200 a year? And then sometimes I carry that out. Like, how long have you had Verizon? I've had them for 5 years. Oh, so you've given Verizon over $7,000 over that period of time, and we have no ownership in that? So I try to communicate it where we as a community, we can just kind of sit back a little bit and process that question and be like, wow, I don't have any ownership in the product. I mean, we go to Walmart, we spend $200-300 a week at Walmart. Well, shouldn't we have some ownership in Walmart? We give Walmart our money.
Well,
so
this is
should own some of it.
this is
Wherever you spend your money, you should have some ownership. Now, if you're like, okay, the easiest way for middle income Americans to have that type of ownership is inside of a mutual fund, because in most mutual funds, you'll have about 150 different companies from different industries. So I have a mutual fund that has Facebook in it. It has Visa in it. It has Lowe's in it. It has MasterCard in it. It has Apple in it. It has Alphabet in it, which is Google. So that's how we can start participating in some ownership, with those companies that are driving growth in our economy, versus us just spending our money making these other institutions wealthy.
let me just interrupt just for a moment, because I want to get back to contact information. But before I do, I would like to invite DeQuay Wilson again as it relates to the contact information and any questions she might have. But this is my question for Willie Norman. Brother Norman, that I know Ivan Earl in Columbia, South Carolina, who is also into financial literacy. Let me suggest to you that I met Ivan Earl through David Whalen, who is also one who teaches courses in financial literacy. One of the young men whom I admire greatly is Doug Coe, who does camps that deal with investment strategies. Larry Bankston, our good brother Mark Davis, and other than Marquita Miller, whom I'm blessed to know as well, most of the people whose names I can call right off, who are financial experts, if you will, are male. Now, as it relates to your client base as well as your associate base, let us help our listeners to understand that gender is not a barrier, but an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have 50 agents, and I would say it's a pretty even 50-50, men and female, as well as clients. I mean, my clients, gender is really not even an issue. I have, both. So as far as the industry is concerned, you named off a couple of folks. But in general, when I go back and I talk about the 80,000 that are in the industry, there's a large number of those that are, will be, really Caucasian men, you know, when you kind of really look at the numbers. So it is a huge opportunity for us to get in the market as African Americans, just because, most of your financial people, if you will, honestly, in what I've seen, they won't come necessarily in our communities to sit across the kitchen table to really help prepare and educate at all levels of income. Which I got low income families, I got medium sized income families, and I got high income families. Most of your advisors really out there, your financial coaches, they're only going to deal with the affluent, where again, everybody is my market. It doesn't matter if a person has the right behavior, the right mindset to change, to make a change, then we're willing to sit down and help that person navigate through this whole financial maze, if you will. And I'm real truthful with people. I tell folks, a lot of times, we want a quick fix, which means it didn't take you a year to get into the debt, and it ain't gonna take you a year to get out of debt. It's a process. Everything is a working plan. So I always encourage my clients. It's just like this is a working plan. So we have to make some changes. We gotta do some different things. But if we stay on this course, I know for a fact, we stay on this course, we will have you in a better financial position than what we started with.
Let me ask DeQuay if she will just repeat your contact information once again.
You are listening to Wave Your Grades on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. Wave Your Grades is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information, please call him 816-525-8708 or email him at wnorman, the number 2, at att.net. But I want to take a few minutes to list a few more of the restaurants for Black Impact Restaurant Day. Peachtree, 6800 Eastwood Traffic Way, 816-923-0099. King's Table Soul Food, 5932 Prospect, 816-444-0779. Urban Cafe, 5500 Troost Avenue, 816-442-8891. Crab King Seafood, 3805 Broadway, 816-569-2526. Again, call ahead for curbside pickup. Now back to our host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much. I just have one more question for Willie Norman. I have one more question, and then my final offer will be for you to make the concluding remarks that we don't want to get away without hearing. But we have a program that honors the military for veterans who oftentimes, unfortunately, suffer a more dire plight than others. What does the Willie Norman Group say to veterans who might not even be aware of some of the opportunities they have?
Well, whether a person is a civilian or a veteran, all of our services apply, to that individual. I will say, if I read a AARP survey, and that survey did talk about active military, reservists. One of the biggest concerns was our financial stress was based off of lack of emergency savings. So a lot of times in the military community, our belief level is that Uncle Sam is going to really take care of us. And Uncle Sam provides a job description. It provides a career in the military, not necessarily helping those understand financial literacy. They will provide, mutual funds and other financial instruments, But again, just like in our school system and our university, there's still a lack of educators really educating families and breaking that down and putting the financial plan in place and things of that sort. So whether it's a civilian, whether it's military, it really doesn't matter. I have a combination of both. I got military clientele. I got lieutenant colonels that are my clients. We've done different seminars in Leavenworth.
Yes.
So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I think that the military personnel is definitely the group that really needs it quite a bit, because unfortunately we make money, but we don't know what to do with the money, in that whole situation. So
Well,
that's how I would answer that.
I wanted to make sure that in the 2 minutes that we have left, that you would have the opportunity to make whatever closing remarks you'd like to. So please go right ahead.
Well, in closing, I just want the American people, I just want their awareness to grow through this whole Corona-19 pandemic that's going on, because right now it's going to push about 34 million American families into poverty. It's the latest numbers, and that is a tragedy there. And I just want the audience again to just start rethinking what they need to do to come out of this better than what they entered in, and just be ready and and having a mindset that they got to get their financial house in order. So if this does come again, that they will be unscathed, if you will.
Yes.
If this should happen again. So that's the biggest message, Carl, I think I would like to get out to the audience.
Cannot thank you enough for being our guest today. No doubt in the near future, and perhaps fairly frequently, we will hear from the W. Norman Group, Willie Norman, in person with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for your information and for your dedication. Let us now turn it over. You are more than welcome. Thank you again for the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, KUAW.org, our Wave Your Grades program, and here is your announcer, DeQuay Wilson.
To close today's Wave Your Grades program, our host will recite one of his daily, year-round morning motivational messages for students in honor of our troops. As always, I am DeQuay Wilson. Here is Carl Boyd.
To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, May 16th. They participate in battle to ensure domestic tranquility. Your graduation ensures domestic responsibility. May 16th. They participate in battle to ensure domestic tranquility. Your graduation ensures domestic responsibility. As I don my mask, my name is Carl Boyd for Wave Your Grades, gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.